I'm going to tell you about the time that the Beatles sued Sesame Street. Well, sort of. And how the King of Pop helped to stave off a Muppet disaster. I'm Dara Starr Tucker, and this is The Breakdown. Christopher Cerf was one of the many talented songwriters that the Children's Television Workshop hired to create the fun and entertaining musical soundtrack that Sesame Street became known for. Incidentally, Christopher is the son of original What's My Line panelist Bennett Cerf, founder of Random House Publishing. Christopher is the reason that so many of us grew up with Sesame Street books and albums, since he was originally brought in as the head of Sesame Street's non-broadcast products division, which spun off books, records, and toys. Now, Christopher's specialty was parody songs that sounded enough like the original song that you would know the reference, but were different enough that they hopefully wouldn't piss off the original songwriters and publishers. He's responsible for gems like Born to Add, which spoofed Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run.
Kids like you and me, baby, we were born to add.
And Furry Happy Monsters, which is a parody of REM's Shiny Happy People.
Furry happy monsters feeling glad.
So when Christopher got the idea for a song called Let Her Be as a spoof of the Beatles song Let It Be, it was too good an idea to pass up.
My mother always whispers, let her be.
Now, most musicians would be flattered to know that their music had made it to one of the most iconic shows in children's television. And Paul McCartney actually wrote Christopher Cerf to tell him that he loved the song, but that didn't really matter because by that point, the Beatles didn't own any of the publishing rights to Let It Be, and they couldn't authorize anyone to cover it or do a parody of it. They had established a company called Northern Songs in 1963 with their manager Brian Epstein and music publisher Dick James.
John and I didn't know about song publishing. We literally thought that songs were in the air and that everyone owned them. That's literally how we met our first publisher. Hi there. He said, come in. Is that what you think? Sit over here. And that was the deal they did. And he owned them. So that's what happened to us on the Northern Songs thing, which was me and John. Very early on, we got managed very well into a little situation. So it meant that the lion's share of whatever songs we did were taken by someone else.
The Beatles attempted to buy back the full songbook in 1967 after Epstein died, but Dick James wouldn't sell. Then in 1969, Dick James sold his share to ATV Music without notifying McCartney or Lennon or giving them a chance to make a counteroffer.
The man who owned them sold them while we were out of town. Dick James, his name was. When we got back to town, we said, Dick, you can't do that. He said, you want to bet? And he was quite right. He had 51% of the company.
This was devastating for them, and they continued to look for a way to buy back the publishing rights. After John Lennon was killed in 1980, his widow Yoko Ono and Paul McCartney attempted to buy back the rights from ATV Music, and again they were unsuccessful. This time they were bested by corporate raider and Australia's first billionaire, Robert Holmes à Court. The parody song first aired on Sesame Street in 1981, and this is where the problem came in. Robert Holmes à Court was a money man, and he was not flattered. He filed a $5.5 million lawsuit, alleging that if Sesame Street could spoof the song without paying royalties, what would stop commercial brands from doing the same thing to sell shampoo? So he basically wanted to make an example out of them. Now, Christopher Cerf, the songwriter of Let Her Be, didn't think the lawsuit really had a chance of succeeding because parody songs were generally covered under fair use laws. But getting into a legal battle with a corporate baron like Holmes à Court for years could certainly drain the pocketbooks of the Children's Television Workshop, which was a headache they really didn't need. And Holmes à Court had no intention of dropping the suit. Now, those of you who know something about Beatles history might be thinking, isn't this the part where Michael Jackson comes in? Yes, this is the part where Michael Jackson comes in. Michael Jackson had developed a friendship with Paul McCartney early in his solo career. They even collaborated on a couple of songs, The Girl Is Mine in 1982,
Doggone girl is mine.
and Say 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 in 83.
Look at my face, these tears ain't drying.
During this time, Paul McCartney had advised Michael to invest some of his earnings into music publishing.
What I said to him was, think about getting into music publishing. And then he looked at me kind of, I thought he was joking, he said, I'm going to get yours.
Oh, yeah.
So, I kind of thought, oh, you.
Well, Michael took that advice to heart, and when the Beatles songbook came up for sale in 1985, Michael used some of his enormous wealth to invest in publishing. The Beatles publishing, to be exact, to the tune of $47.5 million. He outbid Paul McCartney himself. Understandably, Paul McCartney felt completely betrayed, whether Michael intended that or not. But the silver lining within this betrayal would soon become apparent for McCartney, because Jackson, unlike Robert Holmes à Court, was an artist and songwriter. Sesame Street was a part of the cultural zeitgeist when he was coming of age, and like McCartney, he thought the suit was ridiculous. So Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney's former friend, made the decision to let it be and drop the lawsuit against the Children's Television Workshop. He agreed to settle the whole ugly matter for a $50 fine. Now, Let Her Be songwriter Christopher Surf decided that he wanted to pay the fine himself. His reasoning was, if he wrote a personal check to Michael Jackson, Michael would have to sign the back to endorse it. And in those days, you'd get the canceled check back in the mail, which meant that he would have Michael Jackson's autograph. An ingenious plan, right? But what he ended up getting instead was a rubber stamp signature from an administrative clerk. It seems in the end, the only winners in this whole ugly saga were the Muppets.